Hey, what's up, guys? It's Woodie Landeros. You guys are listening to Shut Up and Fail. Today, we're going to be doing things a bit differently. I'm just going to hand over the mic to Rebecca. Sweet. So, explain what we're doing.
Hello. So I've convinced Woody to hand over the mic. So it's going to be me interviewing Woody. I've thoroughly stalked you online. I've looked at your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, everything. And you are a very mysterious person online. So I figured I would challenge you. And guys, I've been trying to challenge him to do this for a very long time. So I'm actually surprised he's doing it. So yes, I'm going to be interviewing you on today's episode of Shut Up and Fail.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the questions.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm nervous that it's very structured.
It's not structured at all.
No, it is.
It's really not.
Okay, guys, whenever I do interviews, I honestly just Instagram search the person's name. I find out what they're doing, and then I figure it out. I unravel the interview in front of them. I have a generic questionnaire, but Rebecca definitely has a few pages.
I'm guilty as charged. I'm a note taker. You know this.
Yeah.
I forget things, so I figured I might as well have some notes. This is my first time on a podcast. I'm a little nervous. I wanted to make sure, I have something to reference if I lose my train of thought.
Send them my way.
So what do you do when you first start this? You tell people to introduce themselves, but people already know who you are. So
Or
I think,
do they?
you know what? Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are. What is it that you do?
Oh, this is my favorite part. My name is Woodie Landeros. I am a podcaster, as you can hear and see. I am a vlogger. If you haven't already checked it out on YouTube, Woody's Journey. And I am also a dancer. But those are just 3 that I've decided on because the list is a bit too long.
Tell me more. This list is long, huh?
Yes.
So just give me briefly the names. What are the businesses that you have started and failed?
Well, the first business I ever started was a vending machine company with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Lucy Vending. I actually wrote it out Lucky Vending because I thought this was going to be my lucky business that was going to make me millions of dollars. Yes, a vending machine company.
A vending machine company, wow.
And it, that was my first company. It didn't really work out so well. And then I did Goldkills, which has a very long story behind it, and it is...
It's a clothing company, right?
Yeah, it's a clothing company. That's the generic response. I should just say that. It's a clothing company. And then I also had a film company. I started recording music videos, and then I went on to wedding videos, and that was Future Life Films. I also had a office... this is going to be confusing to explain. It was an electrical access panel company for cubicles called Gray Square.
This is the first I've heard of this one.
Yes.
Actually, no, I've heard about Gray Square, but I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah, so it's pretty much every single cubicle needs to access electricity on every single floor, and you cannot put a cubicle panel, which is just office spaces, directly onto a wall. So what I created was a fireproof access door that I either swooped up or slid up, and you were able to access the electricity. And actually, nobody really had this around, and I started selling them around Los Angeles.
Well then.
Yeah. And
what
then,
else? What else did you do?
Let's see. Before Goldkills, it was actually called Dream Team with a J. Because I created Lucy Vending, and I thought it was hilarious that I spelled it out with
Dream.
I thought it was hilarious that I spelled it wrong. And if you guys don't already know, with my typing skills, it's not so great. So I misspelled everything. So I thought it would be a funny little joke or a funny little thing to write it out JREAMTEAM, which I am even having a hard time spelling that. I made the company called Dream Team because I felt like my family was in a group, and we were the only ones that were really pushing forward to try to make this quote unquote big company. And I felt like we had a little mini dream team.
Clever. Wait, how old were you when you did that one?
I was, I believe, 13.
Wow. A visionary at 13, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe I was turning 13. Yeah.
So after
But it just goes on and on.
after Gray Square, what else did you do? What's the next business after Gray Square?
Man, I mean, I did Goldkills for a very long time. And then, God, the list is literally like, I've tried to erase it.
So pretty much moral of the story, you've been an entrepreneur from the start. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I'm wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I just, it's like when you don't like, when you're not like making it, or you don't have this like, I guess everybody paints entrepreneur as such a like glamorous thing, but really like if you haven't failed, then you're not really like, you haven't set foot in the word entrepreneur yet.
That's
So
pretty profound.
it's so hard to like call yourself an entrepreneur when you're not making it, because to the public eye, it's like a diamond, but really you're more so living in the dirt portion of it in the beginning. I hope.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah. Frustrations lead to breakthroughs.
Okay, so pretty much from what I gather, from stalking every online platform you're on, the big three things that have kind of brought you the most notoriety is Goldkills, your dance career, and then when you were in real estate.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I forgot to talk about that.
I kind of want to dive into your Goldkills a little bit more. So, I don't know if anybody recently knew this, but we are looking for interns, and as we start to push the message out there to get people to say, hey, we need some people for interns.
Quick little plug-in.
Shameless plug. What I find is that people most know Woody for the clothing company that he built. So how old were you when you did Goldkills?
So it was 2011.
Which means you would have been like, what, 17?
7 years ago. It's 2018, 2011, 7 years ago. I am 22, so let's go ahead and do the math. 15? 14.
You were
I believe
asking the
I believe I was
wrong
14 years
person.
old. Well, it was in 2011, and 2011 was in my sophomore year. So I guess that pretty much just like, you can imagine how old I was. I was a sophomore in high school. And yeah.
So Goldkills, what's the meaning behind it? Why the name Goldkills?
Ooh, that's my favorite question, because I've actually answered this multiple times.
But
Goldkills.
what's different though is if you answered it multiple times, I could not find the answer anywhere online.
I know.
Hence this interview. This is an expose of all things Woodie Landeros.
I know.
Okay, sorry to
So-
interrupt. Go for it.
This is something that I will give you guys, because I've never said on any platform, and I've never told anybody besides my parents, because they had to deal with me while I was going through it. So before I started Goldkills, I was doing graffiti. There it is. That's what I was doing. I was tagging on the walls, and I was trying to get my street name out. It was called, my name was Kirsch. So
Kirsch.
yes, Kirsch.
All right.
It was just a name that my friends had called me. I don't know why.
Dream Team with a J, Kirsch for your tagger name.
There it goes. So I had this whole thing like Kirsch art. Like I just wanted to like put my name out there. So I got really obsessed with like stamping my name in different places. And I was doing it in a very negative way. So I'll talk later on about the way of like expression through a negative way and a positive way. But like I was doing it in a very negative way. And I had a lot of anger and frustration when I was in high school. So when I was first creating art, I was doing it more so to, I guess, hurt other people, because I was angry at everyone. And that's just a whole nother story. But I was super angry at everybody, and I ended up tagging on the walls of the school. This is another thing that I'm not proud of. Yes.
I just want to kind of interject there.
Yeah.
Why is it that you were angry at everybody? I look at you now and how charismatic you are with the world. I'm gonna pry. If you're gonna leave me an open wound here, I'm gonna gouge here. So you were. Repeat that last sentence.
So yeah, I was. I guess I was angry at people because, well, a lot of the times, like, I love my counselor, but at the same time, she told me, it's just normal. It's not even like, oh, this person said this or that person said that. It's normal in a high school environment for people to say like you're not going to make it unless if you go through the school system. And for myself, I was always expressing myself more so through on an artistic way and less so in a verbal way or in a written way. So in school, that's considered a failure, pretty much.
Why was it that your instinct was to turn to art and visual communications rather than written or verbal?
So I think you know this, but
That's
when
why I asked.
when I was younger, I didn't really I didn't know how to speak English until about the second grade, I believe, third grade. But it took me a very long time to learn English, and I found that the only way to make friends was by drawing little pictures and handing it to them. And all of a sudden, um, we became best friends. Like whichever person I gave a piece of art to, they became my best friend automatically. And for me, it felt good. So what did I do? Naturally, it was love and affection that I was needing at the time. So I started creating more art. And if you've ever heard me talk to my mother, I love saying that I like to create and present. That's everything. That's where I get my most satisfaction from. So I like creating videos, but that's only half of it. Like I don't care if I make a video and then it sits there. Like it's almost like there's a gaping hole in my heart. I have to present it. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you can see that I have a piercing look into your soul because I want to see what you feel about it. Because that's the
so
other
true.
that's the other part of my art is just being able to see someone actually intake what I created. So I by dancing, by drawing, by filming, photography, by just different forms of expression. So when I was younger, that's what I held on to.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of people know, but yeah, you aren't a native English speaker.
Yeah.
So the way that you first learn to communicate with people is through the arts.
Yes.
So that's why you have such a instinct for communications
Yeah.
visually, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing. I think art, music, dance, all that stuff, it's beautiful.
Because it's a way to express yourself at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So going back to what you were saying,
Frustration.
the frustrations doing graffiti. Walk me through that a little bit. So the meaning behind Goldkills
Yes.
is where we were at.
Yeah. So I had like a lot of your counselor or your teachers would say, you're not going to make it unless you pass this class. And for my dad, he didn't go to school, or he didn't go to high school. He actually dropped out and went straight to work, and he became actually pretty successful. So I had this idea in the back of my head that you don't really need school. So I started telling myself, I don't need school. I'm just as good as my dad. I'm going to make sure that I fail. I'm going to make sure that people listen to this. So I was trying to put it upon other people, and I was trying to, push out this message when I wasn't realizing that it was a bigger meaning. Like my father actually was talking to me, and he said, you need to really take advantage of school. Like this is a really like I wish I had your opportunities. So anyways, I was tagging and I was expressing myself in a negative way, and I ended up getting caught and fined of like $1,500 and suspended, which was supposed to be expelled, but that's also a different story. So I got suspended. I got a $1,500 fine, and then I got to sit in my house for 2 weeks.
And then out pops Goldkills.
And I sat there, and my mother said, like, you're expressing yourself in a very negative way. And they weren't really mad at me actually about being suspended. They were more so curious about my psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, how can we turn this into a positive way? So you like putting your name on things, you like drawing, you like art. Let's do this in a more positive way. How can we make a business? My mom, that's the main thing. Like you like mugs, how can we make a business? You like audio, how can you make a business? It's always how can you make a business? So I ended up making Goldkills. And so now straight to the meaning. I just wanted to have that little intro because I feel like that's very valuable to hear that, and that has never been told. So
Expose, ladies and gentlemen.
You're welcome.
So Goldkills.
So yes, Goldkills. Gold, I always like to separate the words because it makes it a lot easier. Gold, I think that it equates to money, power, fame, and or something of great value. And kills, destruction, and how it destroys the person inside of you. Now, that's the same, on one side, gold can kill if you have a lot of it, or if you have a lot of it and you don't realize it, or when you have a massive amount of it, I can guarantee you guys can imagine one person. Think of one person that has a lot of money, big-headed, and that person is ruining a lot of things because the gold is killing. A lot of power, money, fame, fill in the blank. Okay, so that is gold killing on one scale. I don't think I really need to explain much in there. Now, on the other scale, I've heard kids say, Woody, I can't do what you're doing because I don't have money. I can't do what you're doing because I didn't have the family. I can't do those things because of XYZ. Now, that's also, the gold is also killing, because for every positive, there's a negative. For every left, there's a right. And if a kid actually thinks that, it's completely destroying them. And if they realize that they can do anything that they wanted to in this life, if they just put their mind to it, that's all that really matters. Like money, look, I can make just as good as videos with like iMovie and my phone. Like it all starts somewhere. Like we didn't just like pop up here. So, like both of those skills. And I think it's very important because you get in like people can really mess their lives up with money. And just go to Vegas. Just go to Vegas. You can
Learn
see
some
how
poker.
gold is actually killing right in front of you.
So at the time you were, we did the math, you were like, what, 15, 16?
Yeah, I would say 15. I was
15.
probably like 14, established in 15.
What would you say was the reaction when you tried to, like, not necessarily try, but when you did explain to the people who were buying your merchandise, when you told them the story behind it? Did they resonate with it, or were you kind of like, oh, this is a little bit of a disconnect?
Well, they were confused. They were really confused because I was the negative, like,
Yeah, you
I
had
don't
built this
care
aura.
about anything or about anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back like some,
After your
like I just
suspension?
came in like just I have a positive idea and let's make a business and I'm gonna make some money and I want a whole team of people, not a crew. I want a team. I want like a cooperative, collaborative group. And it was just like some of my friends that were doing bad things, they were like, what are you talking about, man? And then some of the people that were like doing like good things and I was trying to talk to them, they were like, we're not gonna mess with you, man. This just stay away. Like, so it was really like,
They were shell-shocked.
yeah, everybody, I mean,
Do you think it was because that new like positivity change for yourself? Was it because you found an outlet to kind of channel that visual communication? You were able to kind of like express all of this resentment against gold and how it kills people, figuratively?
I definitely got obsessed with the story and with the goal. So I got obsessed with the story, just like I just started talking about it. I just started reading more. I started seeing what like money was doing. I went back to like Egyptian times back in like it was like I got obsessed with the story.
I've seen the books on your shelf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got really obsessed. I started reading and started just, engaging myself more with like just obtaining knowledge about the subject. And, like when you start doing that, like if it's with film and you're studying like different transitions or
yeah.
different things, you get obsessed. And that's like the only thing you like really want to do. And then on another level, if you want to get like on a big screen as like a director, that's a whole nother motivation. So I felt like I had one to prove everybody wrong, that I wasn't like this bad person. And then two, I got obsessed with the story because I felt like it was happening around me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. So business at 15, huh?
Yeah, it was a bit rough.
So being so young, what would you say is your biggest obstacle as you were trying to grow and scale it?
The way that you started out that sentence, being so young, I think that whenever kids are, young individuals are trying to do something, the first thing they say is, am I old enough? Am I smart enough? Am I tall enough? Like all these, am I blank enough? I feel like that was the one thing that I needed to run away from. And I don't know if I'm going away from the question, but
I like it. Keep going.
I feel like that
I'm
was
not
the
gonna
one.
stop you.
That was the one thing that was really bad because I kept on like I wanted to call up all these businesses and I wanted to like put my clothing in stores, but I actually researched the people and I found out they were like 28, 35, all these different like older individuals, and I put in my head, I'm not old enough, so I'll just wait until I have like a design that's worthy enough for that age group, and or I'll wait until I'm old enough and then I can ask the hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what destroyed me for like the first 2 years
Of Goldkills?
of Goldkills.
So
And
would you say that your biggest obstacle is just the self-confidence to say like what I'm doing is good?
It was
And
all
at
mental.
Mm.
It was all, there was nothing physical that was blocking me.
At what point did you start to like realize
Realize that?
Yeah, not necessarily realize what was going on, but realize that, what you're doing is great. The products you're releasing are wonderful. And you did start calling those people that were a lot older than you and said, hey, you should take my merch and sell it too.
Income and expense sheet. That's what really shook me, because I knew what my company was worth,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I was doing it better than other people that were making it. And the only thing that was stopping me was my face. And that, now that I say that out loud, that's probably why I hid myself so much
Really?
in like the whole media version of things. I didn't even want to. There was actually a point of time that I didn't even wear Goldkills because I wanted. You see, like, well, going back to graffiti, really like having a name and not having a face has such a mystery to it, and I was always obsessed with that. So maybe I translated it into Goldkills, and just having that sort of face. I didn't even wear my clothing for the first 2.5, 3 years, just because I just didn't want anybody to know. Like I purposely picked a friend to take more photos of, just so that people can guesstimate that that's who the owner is, because I just didn't really care for the face. Yeah. So it actually worked in my head. I mean, it's not a. I mean, I felt like it worked because.
Well, it worked in numbers too, because the company did end up growing within the first 2 years.
Yeah, it did. It did work.
So at its peak, Goldkills, what did that look like? Where were you? I know you went international.
Yeah, I was doing some traveling. I started talking to lots of brands around the world, even across seas. People were actually really looking up to it, and it was a bit confusing too, just seeing that this is actually like something that people want. After that, I've been begging for people to listen to me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. And then, but it was really like my favorite part was just having a team of individuals. I ran a team of 9.
You had a team of 9?
Yeah, I had a team of 9 that we met weekly, and we discussed about fashion trends and what we should make next. And I was popping out at least 20 designs a month, and we were just doing quick turnarounds of like smaller orders, but just more exclusive merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really fun, just like creating. And that was, I believe, that was the peak, I would say. Yeah.
When did it start to decline? Because, I mean, you're not full-time running it anymore. It
Yeah.
still has a presence, but not as,
Yeah, no, it's
as
definitely
prominent as it used to be.
definitely
So
not
it's
there.
not there anymore. So at what point did it stop?
Well, you mentioned in the beginning that I was doing real estate. So when I started doing real estate, my mentor said, drop everything.
So you were still doing Goldkills all the way up until you were doing real estate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you see, when I add businesses, I don't subtract any other ones.
I see.
So not until recently, like, you know me differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know me as the panicked out guy that just doesn't want to start anything because I'm afraid that I'm going to put too much on my plate. Now I'm afraid because I said yes to everything. But
a little bit of background information for those of you who don't know, Woody has an extremely addictive personality. So when he gets into something or he's into something, he goes all the way in. He like dives headfirst in the deep end. He's not like a dip your toes in the cold water kind of person. So that's kind of what he means. He doesn't want to take on too much because he wants to go all the way in it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
I obsess over things. But what was I saying?
Well, I can move on. Talking about Goldkills.
The real estate part.
We'll talk about real estate after.
When did it decline?
One at a time. It declined when you stopped.
Yeah, when I was doing real estate, I shut everything down.
What did you learn most from the start, the success and the failures of Goldkills? What's like your biggest takeaway from your first business?
I mean,
you learned design, you learned how to run a team, right?
Yeah, but all that stuff is YouTube videos. I honestly, a lot of my obstacles have been mentally. I don't think I have many physical obstacles in my life. I have a lot of mental obstacles. So I think definitely stepping out of my mind and just going into just being okay with creating something and being judged is probably one of my biggest lessons. It's just Nike. Just do it. Just go out there and do it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Just start somewhere.
Yeah, just start somewhere. Just do it. 100% vulnerability.
I feel like that's more your mantra now as of recently. But what was it when you were in your Goldkills days and you saw it kind of deplete? What was the biggest takeaway then for you?
Oh, is that you're only as big as you think you are. That was really it.
So the
I
bigger you think you are, the bigger you actually are?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
really. Like Goldkills is this fun being able to have this company and then thinking that this company wasn't big and it wasn't good enough. And it was actually displaying in my work. And then one day it just switched on me and I just said, this is the biggest and baddest company I have ever heard of in my entire goddamn life. And I know that anybody that gets the opportunity to work with me is blessed. And so once I started doing that and I started like pretty much just standing up straight and saying like I've worked on this for like 4 or 5 years and I have the plaques that say I can do it. So I think just after you pretty much put yourself in that. Now you can't do that if you
If you have nothing to show
if
for
you
it.
just really like my first design, if I would have done that, they would have called me crazy. But because I had like a website and I had all this team and I had all this different stuff, then it was like, okay, yeah, you can tell yourself that and you can like call people and really just know what you're worth, because then that's like when everything just started picking up, like people were respecting me because I had a voice.
I resonate with that. I
Yeah.
remember when I first started just my media company, it wasn't until I started really telling people I was working 40 hours a week doing accounting work, but it wasn't until I told people, no, I don't work for accounting, I have my own business. I didn't have my own business at the time. I didn't even have an FBA. But it wasn't until I started sitting there and telling people every single day, like, hey, I have a business and it's great. That's when the jobs started coming in. So I totally resonate with that. It's a complete mental game. But,
Yeah.
I was working my butt off and I could take a good picture at that point.
Yeah.
But, I couldn't have said that at the beginning and still had that much success.
Yeah, you need to first shut up and fail
Shut up and fail.
in order to be loud and succeed. All right.
So talk to me about dance. That's a huge thing for Mr. Woodie Landeros. You are quite the mover.
Failures back to back.
I remember when we
was-
first started dating.
Yeah.
Right. I was looking at your Instagram, and it's very rare that you find a man who has some rhythm. And I remember coming across some of your Instagram videos, and I was like, damn, this guy over here's got some moves.
Oh.
But you only had like 2 or 3 videos, and I know you had way more under your repertoire for dance. So in what realm did dance come onto your plate? How did that even start? Nobody in your family's a dancer. You were the first one, right?
My dad was a street dancer.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
he was-
cardboard
he-
box?
yeah, no, he
kind of
really
person?
was.
What?
He really did the
I
cardboard
swear,
box
your
beat.
family is full of surprises.
Yeah, and then my dad was a street dancer. He used to like hustle for some change.
What made you start taking dance? Because I know you did your studio trained.
So yeah, my little sister dances,
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie Landeros, and then Joseph was dancing a little bit. But I was actually the kid in the back of the auditorium that would just laugh at guys dancing. Like I actually made fun of them to my brother. So that was me for like when I first got introduced to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little bit of background for my first 15, 16 years, I don't think I ever tapped my foot in front of anyone. I like stayed away from dance. It was always, I like didn't want to be laughed at.
Mm-hmm.
So I just never did it. But then one day I was in the bus in middle school and my friend Jason Tran was sitting on the left-hand side of me. We were just getting ready to go back home. And I told him jokingly, because we would just joke around. He was a twin, Jason and Justin Tran. But I told him, hey, I'm going to be a dancer. And you have no idea how piercing this laugh was. He had this high-pitched laugh. I was like, ha, 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 ha. He's also Asian. Love him. But he had this, well, no, but he had like this really, really like hilarious laugh. He had the same laugh as like a South Park character.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really funny. But anyways, it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't even matter that he's Asian. But he had this hilarious laugh, and I was so scarred. I was so offended because I said like, what if I did want to? And I just took it seriously. Like I didn't respond, what if? I said, I'm serious. And it went a little quiet, and he just kind of chuckled it out a little bit and said, dude, come on. You can't do that. You can't do that. You're a runner. you're a cross country runner. You're not a dancer.
At the
I've
time, you were
never been,
doing track, right?
yeah, track and cross country. And he was like, you're not a dancer. So I just got this flame in my mind. And I said, I can do it. Because you said I can't do it, I can do it.
Oh,
And
that's such a Woody move.
yeah, I know. I'll
Someone
switch.
said I couldn't do it, so now I will.
Yep, that's
Printed on
the
every water
start.
bottle on Pinterest ever.
Yep.
So that's what got you into
that's what I
dancing,
did,
is
yep.
pretty much the challenge within yourself to say, yes, I can do it. So I know just from my conversations with you in the past, it wasn't, very well accepted when you first started dancing in the studio. I know you had some resistance there. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I actually, I got really stoked about it because I got really scared and I got really stoked, but I really didn't tell.
Well, actually, hold on. Let me pause you there. You were really scared to start, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that fear. What was it that scared you?
Well, I made fun of dancers.
I see.
I made fun of male
And so now
male
you
dancers.
become that
And
thing you were
so,
making fun of?
yeah, it was like, yeah, I was just afraid of somebody like laughing at me. And then just that flame that was in my head, it just lit the way. It lit the way. I
You
just,
didn't let your failures or your fears kind of stop you.
yeah, I just went forward. So I found,
Nice.
I researched all the nearest places in Riverside to dance. And then I went to a dance studio. I won't name the dance studio, but I really wish I could because I want you guys
Screw
to
it.
hear
Why don't
this.
you?
No, I won't say it. So I
Why?
went to this
Because
dance.
if they're not accepting of, well, I'll let you.
No. But
I'll let you finish.
So I went to this dance studio and they pretty much told me, do a U-turn. No, like, I guess, like straight guy is going to be dancing in here. And I think it was because I was older and some of, they just
That's
didn't,
such an ironic
they didn't
statement.
want any like guy and girl drama because I looked like trouble back then. So
Mr. Graffiti.
it was just like, no, we don't want you here. Turn around, go somewhere else. So I did. I didn't really let it like bother me or anything. And well, it kind of bothered me.
So pretty much you were judged, book cover kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, it was bad. So I went into another studio, great studio called Dancer Studio in Riverside, a little dance studio that focuses more on ballet. And actually my initial, like my first feelings going into dance, I did not want to do hip hop at all. So I
Really?
started out with ballet and I started training in that and I fell in love with it. Then I went to a dance competition because I wanted to consume the same way with my obsessive. I went to every single dance competition, even though our studio was not a dance competition studio. I just researched, this is where they compete. So I started watching. I got to know every single dancer's name. I researched every single dancer on YouTube. It was just like, the search was on. And I ended up seeing Casey Askew and Travis Preston that were dancers from JPD and also a part of a dance company called Points of View by Terry Schulke. And I fell in love with the way that they were dancing because it actually felt like these are men dancing on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that's where I want to be. So then the next week I was inside of JPD. And
What was it like when you first started at a studio not knowing anything?
well, I was dancing with like 3-year-olds. And at the time I was 17 when I first started dancing. So it was really, it was like it was hard. It was hard because I had to dance next to these little girls that were, picking their boogers and running around. And I was here like trying to learn like a passe and a turn and plie. I'm over here like really, really studying this teacher while these kids are like, hey, why are you in here? What are you doing? My mom says you're weird. My mom says you shouldn't be here because you're too tall and you have hairy legs. And I'm like, okay, little girl, like I'm just trying to do this. So I really I went to classes for 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then Saturdays for competitions. And then even like right out of school, I was like stretching in class. I was like pointing, flexing, like I was really, really trying. But yeah, so that's how it was when I first went in there.
So you're now a hip hop dancer, or would you say you're more contemporary?
Contemporary.
Or kind of contemporary. But your contemporary isn't necessarily like the same contemporary as everybody else.
Well,
It's very eclectic, but in a good way.
yeah, well, contemporary nowadays is just a bit of like a mixture. I feel like now that people are really just expanding the horizon with styles, it's just like contemporary is just an easy way to say I'm a mix and I have no idea what breed I am.
That's not lyrical? I feel
You
like
know,
that's more lyrical.
lyrical is a bit more like the slower movement, the dramatic, like long leg. It's like
Yeah.
that I would say like the beautiful music. I don't know if I was trained correctly, but like the more beautiful music, like stuff that you would see, like the dramatic love story, and So You Think You Could Dance.
I see. Learn something new every
Contemporary,
day.
like Twitch does contemporary.
Okay.
Kyle does contemporary.
That's awesome.
Ian Eastwood is now trying to do, or he is achieving contemporary. Yeah, he's doing.
At the peak of your dance career, I know you were going to auditions and landing jobs and dancing for POV, right?
Yes.
What was it like when you were going into doing solos for competitions and, auditioning for yourself and you saw how different your contemporary solos were from everybody else's?
That was also nerve-wracking. My whole life is just nerve-wracking. My
So
entire
it
life is just really
seems.
nerve-wracking. Like, I'm always just
But
nervous.
that also speaks a lot of your character too, because if you're taking classes with these, young girls who are making fun of your leg hair
Yeah.
and going into these auditions and people are looking at you funny because of your style of solo, and you're still doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people would look at that and say, you know what, I think I'm gonna pass on that. I'm guilty of that. And I know
Yeah.
you're guilty of it sometimes, but about 99% of the times you still go dive deep in the
Yeah.
deep end.
Yeah, it was really hard, especially like taking the class and like I'm not flexible. Mine is like right angle legs. Like this is if you're watching the video, this is my that's my flexibility right there. Right there, that's the flexibility. Right angle. And so like when I was like stretching and stuff, I would have my teacher Tatum or Erica Bernardi stand on top of me for like 5 minutes.
Oh, the drive
Just
there.
stand
Ooh.
on top of me, and I was like in pain, but I knew that's what I had to do. I went home, I went in like hot baths. I also stretched in right angle,
Oh
just
my
right angle,
goodness.
no movement. Like I'm just not there. So like really like just understanding my style and understanding that I'm not like these other people. I'm not like these other dancers was a big deal for me because I wanted to be those other dancers. And that's like when I started dancing, I hoped that one day I looked like them when I was on stage. But after doing it for like 2 years, I really had to sit down with myself and tell myself I will never be them. I will never, ever, ever be them. And that's the same thing with business. That's the same thing with creating things. That's the same thing with relationships. All that. You will never, ever, 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 ever be like anybody else. Even if you look up to them and you consume everything that they do, you will never be like them. You will always be yourself, your own version. So that was really hard.
It came full circle too when you had Casey on your podcast. And
Yeah.
you both were kind of sharing your experiences with being a dancer in the dance community now and, dealing with like the death of comparison. 'Cause,
Yeah.
oh man. I know when I go into a
kills-
dance class, it sucks because you're just in front of this huge mirror. You can't hide from it. And you see all of these incredible dancers and you can't help but compare yourself to that.
Yeah. When I was competing for Mr. Star Power, I actually before I went on stage, I went all the way to my car and I just like broke down to start crying because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna like compete against these different guys. Like there was like 10 finalists and I was one of them.
Give him a little background reference. What's Mr. Star Power? Why was it so?
Yeah, so Mr.
Important.
Star Power is like this this big award in competition dancing where it's like you compete for. I see it as like what is that thing called when you're like in prom and you're like Mr. and Mrs. sort of thing?
Prom queen, king?
Yeah, so it's like that big of a deal in high school,
Like,
but in the dance world, so like you just get like an award for being like Mr. Star Power or Mrs. Star Power.
that's such a corny name. I'm
I
sorry.
I know, but I was so happy. I was crying. It
I
was
would have cried too.
it was crazy because I didn't feel like I was gonna win, and I was going against Casey Askew.
Did you really?
Yes.
Shameless
I was,
plug. That's
yeah,
amazing.
I'm sorry, Casey. No, I was going again, but he was really happy about it too. I think everybody was really happy, and I was really happy. But I had I went outside and I like broke down because I really realized like I'm not like these people, and or I'm not. I keep on saying people. I'm not like these dancers, and it really like hurt me because I wanted to be those dancers, and I was comparing myself. But then before I got on stage, like Terry grabbed me to the side. And she said, you are my misfit. You know, you are my misfit. You are the misfit. That's the reason why you're special. Like, you are your own you. And so when I got on stage, I really didn't care about winning. I just wanted to show them that I was different than the other people, than the other dancers. And so like when I won that, you know, it's just like
You did.
Terry
You showed
ran
everybody.
up. I was all crying. I still have photos of it, and man, it was such a big, and you know, it's not that big of an award, like, you know, being, you know, on like TV or anything, but it
for
was
you
such a
going
huge
from
award.
where you
Yeah,
started, you know,
not
in
being able
ballet
to dance
class,
at all.
within 2 years getting such a renowned
Yeah,
award in the competition circuit.
yeah,
That's
that
a
was a big
huge
deal for
deal.
me.
I mean, granted, it's not a Grammy, but
Yeah,
it's
it felt like a Grammy.
it is a Grammy. I take that back. So you still dance now, but not as much. But when you're at the peak of your dance career and seeing it, you know, come to a close gracefully, of course, what would you say is your biggest takeaway? What'd you learn?
Well, I'm still dancing.
Yeah.
POV is going on tour.
All those
And
dance videos?
yeah,
You
we're
got
going
one
on
hell
tour.
of a videographer,
I'll
I
probably
just
have.
might
I do. I'll probably have some more dance videos coming out. So I've stopped taking it like as a career, more of like a hobby. That's probably a better way to explain it.
Yeah.
What was the question before? I'm sorry.
Biggest takeaway from
Yeah.
your entire dance, yeah. Competing to now. What'd you learn from dance?
Listen to your instructors. They're not crazy. Like, seriously, get out of your head and just listen to your instructors. Like, if somebody has like the heart to believe in you, you should believe in yourself. You know, like, just take that sort of like trust or that sort of love that they're giving you and like run with it.
Grow with it.
Because I felt like Terry, I walked in her classroom before I even knew her, and like she brought me to the side and like introduced herself and really like cared for me and almost like took me in as like a son in the dance community. And I like realized how much she cared about me in that moment, and I wasn't going to let her down. So I would really just say, listen to your instructors. Like, some people even laugh at certain moves that like instructors will give you. And it's like, if you don't believe in it, you're going to look ridiculous. So just believe in it. If they tell you to throw your body onto the ground and do this crazy move, just do it. Just throw yourself down. You're going to grow. Like, you're going to grow by feeling silly.
I have no words. Drops mic.
Sweet.
Okay, so we talked about Goldkills. We
Yes.
talked about your dance career a little bit. Now I kind of want to go into your career in real estate. So just to give the audience a little preface, my man over here, as he straightens his tie, brush his shoulders off a little, he's had one hell of a career as a real estate agent. Through ups and downs, he was, you know, able
More downs.
to he was able to navigate the space a little bit to get himself a house. And so I know that's a big point of conversation with pretty much everybody you meet. And I know you have some feelings about the real estate aura in general. So I wanna talk about real estate. I wanna kind of expose you a little bit because you never talk about real estate, and it was such a huge part of your life.
Yeah. Only talk in person.
See, but that's what this podcast is
If you
for.
want to know how to invest or where to invest, talk to me. Call me at night. Kidding. Ask the
So
questions.
I know your parents are also in real estate, so I'm sure they were a huge inspiration and reason for you getting into it. But you're also not that guy. You're not a person to like sit behind a desk for such a long time. Why did you make the decision to go into real estate and kind of separate yourself from the arts a little?
So if you haven't already noticed with everything that I do a lot of things not for myself. I do it for other people. And these other individuals that I was thinking about was my children. So I really thought about like, I'm not making the money that I wanted to make. And I feel like I owe it to my children to give them the same thing that my parents gave to me. So I decided to take on real estate. And I've always had a great passion for it because just growing up and cleaning out apartments and doing all that like dirty work just makes you realize like the reason why this is so shiny is because you have to clean it. Like that's the reason why like you appreciate it after like I get freaking happy just with like the smell of like Windex or like just seeing like new cleaning rags. Like,
It is nice.
yeah, it's amazing.
Did you see a difference in yourself when you pulled away from the arts? You stopped creating a little bit to pursue not money necessarily,
Yeah.
but to take a different route.
Yeah, I definitely pursued money.
What's
I
that mantra you say when you chase money?
Yeah, when you chase when you chase money, it'll run. And if you start running faster, that shit will run real fast. So just don't like chase money. Like honestly, every single time that anyone like chases it just frantically, like I need money, it will run and it will laugh and you will go
It'll eat you
insane chasing
alive.
it. You will go insane chasing it.
Same
Just
with
do what you love.
taking jobs because they have big money. I mean, you
Yeah.
and I both see this now with our creative careers. It's like you get this job and the budget is there, but then there's always that one thing, and you're like, oh, but the money. So you take the money, but every single time, like without fail, I hate it. I hate it because I took it for the money, and I should have just said no.
Yeah. I still have a great passion for real estate though. I will probably end up like just being half and half in real estate and in creating.
But also, real estate's also that thing that
So
kind of feeds
it's
itself after a
yeah,
while
it's
too.
it's its own monster.
At your peak with your real estate career, what did your day-to-day look like?
So real estate is a fancy way. Real estate agent is a fancy way of saying cold caller. I sat down in an office and I made from anywhere from 100, 200, sometimes 250 calls a day. And I was just trying to contact investors. So walk in, get my double shot espresso, really just throw the eye drops in, slap my face around a little bit, do a couple jumping jacks, and sit down for like hours and hours and hours and hours researching numbers, trying to find investors that own property. And just pretty much, it was just keep your head down, keep your voice up.
That's why you have such a good phone presence.
Well, thank you.
You have
thank you very much.
quite the practice. I've noticed this just with when we meet my friends or we go out to like a networking event and it comes up in conversation because you have a couple posts about having a house, or it just comes up that you've been a real estate agent, and the reaction that you get when somebody hears that you're 22 and you already have a house. How do you kind of handle that? Because it's so hard for me not to laugh, Woody.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, I see like, yeah, of course, this is such a great thing, but it's also like, just put your head down and work.
Yeah, well, I guess just explaining to somebody, you explain it differently to different people. when you're 21 years old and you have your own house and you explain to somebody that I have my own house. Yes, it's just myself. Yes, it's my house. Yes, it's a house. Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. If you tell like it's just different for everybody. Like parents definitely appreciate it. I always love their reactions. They're always like, "You need to meet my daughter," or they're like, "Oh my gosh, you need to start hanging out with my son because he needs to stay motivated." And it's really like I see it as like a painting. Painting is really beautiful, like a beautiful painting of a house. But this painting takes a very, very long time and a lot of brush strokes and a lot of like errors and a lot of like you have to even like find the correct canvas for it to last. So everything like people only see the painting portion of it. So they feel that you live in this painting, but really they don't realize that you have to retouch it every so and so. You have to make sure nobody hits it. You have to make sure that the canvas that you chose was the correct canvas. You have to make sure that you frame it.
It's a lot more than just a pretty thing on a wall.
There's a lot of like maintenance things after the fact, like after you buy a house. Like when I bought a house, I thought it was just great. And then after the fact, it's like, hey, you need furniture. Hey, you need spoons. You need forks. You need appliances. Did you know that you need to get a washer and dryer? Did you know you need to do laundry? So all these things don't pop up when you live with your mama.
And the house is still pretty empty.
Okay, well, we don't have to say that here. We don't have to say that right here. It's
I mean, like
full.
it's a process. It's still a painting. It's not
really
just a pretty thing on a wall. You have to work for it.
Yeah,
it takes time. But also, something I want to note here is that you had your head down for like a solid year. You didn't do
Isolation.
anything. You didn't go out. You weren't really going out with your friends, talking to them even. That takes some discipline. That is an artist with a canvas and no life.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. And I would rather be that guy any day. So I spent about 2, 3 years in full isolation with myself and work. That was my best friend, was work. So I almost even erased my friends. And if you guys are any of my closest friends, which I'm sure you guys will listen to this, I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to um, go outside. I didn't want to like party or have friends because I knew how much time it took up, and I knew what I needed to do in order to get to where I am. So I put my head down for about 2, 3 years. I'll say 3 years just so I sound great, so I sound like a great. But I just went in complete isolation and I got obsessed with adding numbers.
That must have taken a toll on you, knowing your personality and how extroverted you can be.
Yeah, well, some would say introverted, but I mean,
Mm,
I don't
An extroverted introvert, to say the
yeah.
least.
No, yeah, it was really hard for me. I mean, the great thing about it was I had great relationships in my work environment. I had Jesus Gonzalez, one of my best friends that I ended up hiring. I had my father that I was working with, and a couple of my uncles also. Um, and I think, I mean, I don't even see when I think back at it, I don't even know what was going through my head, honestly. I had a moment where oh God, in the morning I would wake up and my routine was to put on this song, or I had like a playlist of songs, and I would look at myself in the mirror and I would tell myself I am a millionaire 50 times before I exited the house. So you could just imagine what that did to my mind after a year. People were asking me, would you rather have, this is an actual question from somebody I won't name, would you rather have me or the money? And I answered, the money is like the blood that flows through my veins. So that is not a valid question.
Ouch. Low blow.
Yeah, I was really obsessed with numbers. You have to understand, I was not even in my right mind because I would go home, watch The Wolf of Wall Street, get a good meal, like I had my workout game strong. I woke up really, really early, worked out, went to work, make sure that I gave it like 1,000%, went back home, watched the movie again, went to sleep, did the same thing over and over and over and over again, like just nonstop until it was like, are you okay?
That's so crazy to just even think about, knowing you now, how you are and how much you just love creating. And then
Yeah,
even at the beginning of this conversation, talking about how like your what kind of brought you to be who you are is your means of visual communications and
yeah.
using that as to like kind of express yourself. And for that entire time, look at how like that
I
changed,
think I went
you
back
know?
into creating in a negative way.
So what brought you out of it? When did you start to see it take the turn for, I don't think I want to do this anymore?
November 25th, 2017. I met a beautiful woman called Rebecca Blue.
Shit.
Well, really, yeah, that's really what happened. So I met Rebecca in November, and I saw myself in her, but when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see myself. So I realized that I stopped creating. I realized that I stopped doing the things that I loved. I was just obsessed with adding numbers, like I said, and it really tore me apart. And I expressed that with her, and she said, "Then why are you doing it?
It just sounded
Then
like
why
such a simple concept for me at the time,
you
even
like
still.
had like Goldkills and you did the films and you did this and that?" Like it sounded like I was an old man talking about my glory days, and I was really like
It
ashamed.
did. It really did sound like that.
I was really ashamed that I threw away all the trophies. So it stuck with me, and like I ended up I was in Marcus and Millichap, commercial real estate firm, and I was looking outside of the window doing cold calls, and I was talking to one of my customers or clients, as Daniel likes to say. I was talking to one of my clients, and it was literally like a movie. How it was just like echoing, like, "Hello, hello," and I was looking out at an airplane leaving because I worked right next to the Ontario airport, and I think like 4 airplanes passed, and every single time I said, "That's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine." Like I just the same thing. Like I am a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I started just saying it over like that's mine. That's mine. My calls went from like 300, 200 down to like 40, 30 calls. And I was just like researching about like just creating and like creators and like what to do and like how to express myself in different ways. And we had this little trampoline in the office, and I was, for the first time, I was jumping on it. And I was just like, I was going insane. I was going insane a little. I sound crazy.
You were inspired.
I was crazy. I was like the dude from the, what is that one thing where he's like tapping, he has his shoes off in the office and he has the ball. He's looking at the graph chart. Dang it.
I have no idea.
Okay, well he's like really obsessed with numbers, and he had his shoes off and he was walking around. That was me. I had my shoes off in the office, and I was like yelling at airplanes, and I wasn't doing my work, and I was having like double, triple the coffee, and I was just trying to get to the next day. I was trying to figure out how to leave work, and like it was really like the rebellion, you know, like I wasn't happy in that environment anymore, and I just really wanted to live up to what I was saying that I was. Like I felt like a phony talking to Rebecca. Like I really did, like I did these things, but I felt like a phony when I was expressing myself. Like, yeah, but you know, Goldkills is not really there anymore, and you know, it was a great thing when it was there. And
you know what's so funny about that is that I remember when we first started dating, and you the way that you would talk about your failed businesses then in comparison to the way that you talk about them now is vastly different. Now you say it with such enthusiasm because you understand the weight of what you learned from failure at those businesses, compared to like your mentality of failure at that point. It was kind of like a taboo subject. Like you didn't really want to talk about it. Every time I'd like, because I remember looking at your Instagram when I first started meeting you or first started dating you. And I saw Goldkills and I was so intrigued. But every time I'd ask questions, you're like, yeah, it's just not here. But now, anytime it comes up in conversation, you're like, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Goldkills. Let's talk about my failures. It's awesome. It's such a cool thing to see.
Well, my mentor, Mike, can I say his name? Yeah, whatever. My mentor, Mike Togerson, said that my mind was too crowded and that I had too many ideas and my foot was in every single door, and like I just wasn't focusing on anything. Because, you know, I was doing the Gray Square thing, I was doing the Goldkills thing, I was doing the dance thing, I was like traveling. I went to like New York one day, I was like going to Mexico, I was filming for Joseph, and then like I was just doing all these things. I started doing CrossFit. I was just trying to do other things, but I realized I was just running. I was trying to run from just sitting in that cubicle. But I was just doing so many different things, and like he was just like, stop, stop, stop. The same, like he just kept on hitting me with like, relax, stop, drop everything. In order to make it in this business, you need to only be doing this business. So that's what I did. I quit everything. And I felt ashamed every single time I talked about it because I didn't want to be that person that wasn't focusing.
So then, this is kind of a biased question a little bit. What was it about meeting me that changed that for you?
You don't give a fuck.
I don't.
So, like, you really just don't care. So, like, when you do things like if Rebecca needs something done, it's not... Oh, God. How can I explain this? Rebecca will get things done no matter what. Inside of the house, we have this, like, curtain, like a blind thing. It's just a piece of material with 2 pin marks on both sides. So it creates shade. I've had the house for, like, a year and a half without Rebecca, and there's always been, like, beaming sun, and it's always just been like super exposing in my bathroom, and I had to like run past it because I just I didn't want to be seen. But but she just fixed it in a matter of seconds because she just grabbed this like cut up material. It's like a scrappy looking material. It's still there. 2 pins on the top, fixed it, and I just looked at it and I just laughed like, what in the world? Who are you? Like what? It was really like the solution to like my entire life. Like everything, like she's so organized in a chaotic way. And like I was more like unorganized and afraid of being chaotic. So it's a balance.
Seeing someone who was not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
That's what kind of changed your perspective on sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours?
Yeah, I think so. And you just seem so free, and you seem like you were doing what you love. Like, of course you're stressed. I was seeing your stress levels, and I was like, oh my gosh, I do not miss editing quinceañeras. But at the same time, it was like, but she's doing it. She's not like, she's out here. Like, she's out here, hustling. Like, it's just you. And so, like, for me, I felt like I was actually doing things and getting like jobs. That wasn't even the case. Like, it was just all in my head. Like, I just stopped because I thought that it was failing. So
the real estate was failing?
No, I stopped everything else.
Oh.
Because I thought like I was failing, and I thought I was like,
also your mentor said to stop everything.
And everything was just like
So you've started and stopped and started and stopped lots and lots and lots of different things.
Yeah.
And here you are at the peak. I don't know if it was the peak at the time we met, but here you are like skyrocketing in your real estate career.
It was a peak.
It was the peak. Did it ever occur to you, or did the thought ever cross your mind, like, I'm at a big person job here. Am I really about to like just walk away from all of this? Is this just going to be another one of like Woodie's start and stop things?
Yeah, I was, I told you I was really nervous about starting something and then just saying like, never mind, in like 2 weeks, and then going like, hey, can I get my real estate job back? And, like I was afraid, like I didn't even want to commit to anything else because I was just like afraid that I was going to let people down. And, yeah.
I remember what it was like when you had first, I think it was December when you quit your job. Mm-hmm. Or when you had first taken your leave from your job.
It was December.
And I remember like seeing you after you had just done it. And I thought you were crazy. Because I'm sitting here like, dude, I would kill to have like the stability. I mean, granted, I work for myself and it's incredible, but I'm so stressed. And you just walked away from that. That alone was so inspiring. I was like, man, I'm going to marry this kid.
Well,
that's amazing.
No.
But it's a good kind of stress.
Yeah, no. It's like, it's the best type of stress. So I'm just kidding. I'm not stressed. But I'm stressed sometimes.
When you left the job and you took that kind of leap, you also took the leap without knowing what you wanted to do or what you had no plan. That's totally out of character for you.
Casey Neistat says this thing. He says, if you're trying to find what you want to do, don't try to like go after what you want to do. Go after something that you really, really dislike, because if you do that every single day, you'll be thinking about the thing that you should be doing. So I just knew that I didn't belong there because I was always thinking about other places. Same thing with everything else, like even like relationships. Like,
oh, okay.
Same thing with like relationships. Like if you're thinking about other people, just leave. Like that's not where you belong. Like go somewhere where you're actually going to be thinking and like breathing like for this thing. So yeah, and honestly, like another big pushing factor was that I cashed out one of my biggest checks, which was $15,000, was the last check that I got from Marcus and Milchap. And I wasn't happy with it because I wish that I would have gotten paid $15,000 to do a video, not to cold call.
Truth. Now, if I could just get 15 grand to do a video, that'd be pretty nice too.
I'm trying to figure it out too.
When you would first quit your job and you had no plan, I remember, and this is kind of background information for y'all, Woodie has so many ideas for businesses, and they're not just, I'm going to start Facebook. They're really, really good ideas. And being organized, chaos as I am, him and I went to a coffee shop, and I literally sat there with a pen and paper and I said, tell me everything you have on your mind, all of the business ideas. And he kept trying to like sidetrack once he got into it because he wanted to tell me all the aspects. I was like, no, that was the idea. Let's move on to the next one. Because I just wanted like a list of ideas. And, we funneled it down to like the last 3. And I said, these are your best ideas. They're the most attainable. And for like time of turnaround, these are most realistic. Take this list and, come back to me tomorrow and let's see what you're going to do. And ironically enough, he chose that he wanted to open a dance studio. Mm-hmm. Now that isn't the case. It's another, kind of throwaway failure, but he learned a lot from it. And I remember seeing your face kind of get so inspired. It was so cute. You're so
Yeah,
nice.
that was scary too. Another nerve-wracking part of Woody's life.
Why was that scary for you?
Well, because I felt like I had to decide. And that like, I bet a lot of people are going through that. Like, even if you want to make like a clothing line, like people just feel like they have to decide right now. Like, gunpoint decision. What do you want to do?
But we did it so that you had somewhere to start.
Yeah.
And that start evolved into what it is now, which is something
yeah.
that you're doing day in and day out. But without that and starting, you probably would not have been
And
here.
if you're watching this in a year from now,
Who knows?
just look at what it is now.
I know.
In 2019. It's crazy.
So that brings us to where you are now.
Yes.
Bird's eye view. Tell me what Woody's journey is.
So, oh, goodness. Woody's journey was created. Actually, it was originally called Journey to 42 because I felt like the first 22 years of my life were not documented. And I wish that oh, God.
What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And why now?
So the first 22 years of my life were not documented. I searched up my name, Woodie Landeros. You saw some like cross-country things. You saw like just random, skitter-scattered like information. You didn't know who Woodie Landeros was. Nobody knew who Woodie Landeros was if you Googled even my name, Woodie Landeros. It's such like that's the only thing that pops up is just the little information that I had. I searched up Joseph Landeros. And I saw a lot of information because he's a professional boxer and he has like all this like stats and stuff.
Joe is his little brother, by the way.
Yes. And I realized that one day when I have children, my child will search up Woodie Landeros on one screen, and on another screen, my child will search up Joseph Landeros, and then it'll go on and on because it's going to, that's just what our kids will do. They're just going to Google us because we will actually have a searchable name. And I was disappointed that the first 22 years of my life, I went through, a certain amount of things and there was nothing documented. So I originally created Journey to 42 because my next 20 years of my life were going to be documented. And I didn't start it for a while. And I really just I even turned 22. I didn't even vlog or anything. And but then I just realized I just have to start now. It's not even to 42. It's like on a whole nother level. Like a lot of kids and a lot of individuals are going through this. They're just not starting somewhere. And I felt like I needed to push myself to actually just do something. So it was more so like a mental journey. It was a mental journey for me to get out of my comfort zone and to show people that great things happen when you pass that comfort zone. And that's the only way that you can get better is become vulnerable and put yourself in those situations. So my first 19 already vlogs, I'm still not satisfied with them. And that's okay.
You've come so far.
That's okay.
So far.
And I'll keep on making them. And one day, whatever your names are, or even if it's just one of you, my child listening, your father has a searchable name.
Drops mic.
So yeah, that's Woody's journey.
What is it that you're doing? What's Woody's journey? I know why you're doing it now.
So yeah,
what is it that you're doing?
Woody's journey. I am vlogging my experiences, and originally I didn't want to vlog because I didn't feel like I had anything successful to talk about. But I just realized that every single success story is just like a breakdown of a bunch of failures. So I wanted to show people that it's okay to fail. And I wanted to change people's perception on failure and be more open and willing to fail.
What? Plug for Shut Up and Fail, the podcast?
Check it out. Well, you guys are already listening, so.
So you're vlogging. You're kind of showing everybody your experiences through failures, ups and downs, successes as you're, continuing this entrepreneurial dream.
Yes.
You have a podcast. So tell us about this podcast. Dream. No, I mean reality.
So you guys are listening to the podcast.
Yay! Step 1 done.
Shut up and fail.
Which,
So,
I just want to stop you. I came up with the name, by the way.
I know, I
and
still need a
feel-
contract signature.
I'm very proud of that. Anyways,
That was actually really great because I didn't know what to call it, and I wanted to make the podcast on that day, and I was like, I need to do it. Like, we have to film something, and we have to release it. And I didn't even have the name, and I walked up to her, I said, what's a good name? She was like, what about Shut Up and Fail? And I was like, boom.
let's run it.
That's the podcast name. Went back, made the design. In like 2 days, there was a podcast. That's how
fast
yeah.
he works, guys.
Well, yeah.
You're not at the Gary Vee level just yet, but you're pretty damn close.
No, I don't think we can say that. Gary Vee.
So I don't think you've ever really broke down what Shut Up and Fail is about.
So, Shut Up and Fail. The number one. Do you want me to do like the ad type of sound, like the number one thing that everyone has in common?
Failure.
Wait. Okay.
Where's the
I'm gonna do
tambourine?
it. Okay. All right. Let's do this. All right. Actually, let me just walk over.
Yeah. Oh, the other one. Okay. Can I do it? No, you do it. You're more musically talented. And action.
Introducing the podcast like no other. The number one thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop at this thing. Okay, wait. The number one thing that everyone has in common with each other, and the one thing that nobody wants to talk about. Yes, you don't want to talk about it, is failure.
Dun, dun, dun.
But every single failure that you've been through has been a life lesson. If you listed all of your life lessons, the roots would be failures. So why in the hell is everyone running from the word failure? I want to challenge people to run towards failure. Run towards it so much to the point that your face is falling forward. Shut Up and Fail is a podcast made by Woodie Landeros. No, yeah. But that's what it is.
That was a good elevator pitch.
Yeah,
I
thank
like
you.
that.
Did you like it?
I did.
I actually have it written right here. I practiced right before. I think I had a few other things, some stats and stuff.
So,
But no, I really
love that
did.
notebook. So pretty much you are exploiting what people are learning from their failures, which is a lot more than they're learning from their successes, right?
Yeah, I have another piece.
Oh, go.
If you are one of the few that say you've never failed, you're either lying or in denial. Damn, everybody has failed and it's okay. Yeah, that was a one.
Damn.
Let me see. Yeah, that's what it is.
All right, so you've got a lot of vlogs out there. You've got a lot of podcasts out there. Woodie's journey is just kind of taking everybody through your journey on just doing it, as Nike would say.
I better get sponsored one day.
One day. It's not that hard.
Really?
Just do it. I want to ask you about creating every day. Because me being a creative myself, it is so unbelievably hard to be creative on demand. I kind of want to ask you and take me a little bit through your psyche on the trials and tribulations of having to be creative, not just once a week like myself, but every single day. Because ladies and gentlemen, his schedule for posting and coming up with things is unreal. My hat's off to you because I could never do it. But how hard is it for you? Or is it hard at all?
Well, I guess like before, I really didn't like creating on demand. I really hated it. And it actually ran me away from a lot of jobs. It ran me away from teaching dance. It ran me away from filming wedding videos. It ran me away from drawing for money. It might have even ran me away from Goldkills because I felt like when somebody demands art right now, that is not that it has a possibility that it is not the 100% fullest like outcome, I guess you could say.
You're not going to do your best work.
Yeah, you won't do your best work if it's not like on your schedule. Like some people take years and years to create a movie and like like they're making it perfect. And I think that like once it gets to that point where you cannot like add another brushstroke is when like true perfectionate like art is created. Like when you can sit there and just look at it, But then on the other side, it is great to push yourself on a schedule because when you like force yourself to create, then you act on your feet and then you end up getting a lot better. So I would say like Working more on a schedule, I would consider it as my training or my practice. Like if I was a runner, it would be my quick sprints before a race, and my bigger creations are like the films that I like put a lot more attention to. Like not so much my blogs, but like the other things. Those are true pieces of my performance. That's the race.
So the daily creations is your growth, your education, for lack of a better term, and then your bigger projects like the video "What If."
Yeah.
That's more a representation of you as an artist.
Yeah, definitely. And like I had to like create dance pieces on the dot, and it drove me crazy because I felt like it doesn't take 30 minutes to make a dance piece. It takes however long it takes. Like, that's the reason why like Kanye West takes so long to make a song. Like he's there like really, really focusing on every single sound wave. And there's a reason why why he is Kanye West. And there's a reason why like all these, like just the attention to detail I value so much in artists and in creators. So when I get told you need to get this thing done by tomorrow, and it's like a drawing of some sort, then I see that as like a job. Now, if I can get it done by tomorrow, and that's like, it is what it is, then great. There's nothing really, if that's how long it takes, then that's how long it takes. But if somebody says like on command, I need you to make a t-shirt a day, it doesn't take that. It's different. Like
it's more than
art
just a day.
is so difficult just to create. Like it's not a time schedule. It's not even a day. Today, I will not create the same thing that I make in 2 weeks because my emotions are different. My environment is different. My mentality, everything, my physical state is different. The things that I consume, everything that like you intake is what is being outputted into your creations.
So then, I hear two different things here. It's good to be on a schedule and push yourself, but it's also bad in a way because, you're not giving yourself the time to really create your truest form of art. Which would you say is better for yourself?
So I was saying before, I was really frustrated with that.
With the schedule?
Yeah,
okay.
I was really frustrated. Now I realize that if you don't have a schedule as an artist, sometimes we can create art in our minds. And sometimes like I can imagine a dance piece, but if I don't set the time to do it, the dance piece will never come to life. So like I thought of like millions of different movie ideas, but nothing is out there for proof because there was no schedule. There's not even an attempt. There's not even a set time period that you have to create. So for myself, I think it's more valuable to have like blocks of like creating time. And then like if you don't feel it, just walk away. Just like I'll end up just doing something else. I'll end up cleaning. I'll end up just trying to find some sort of inspiration. I'll start drawing instead of editing, whatever I have to do to get inspired. But I don't want to like force creativity because that's when you just start like blabbing things out and just like for no you're not going to create your best piece of art.
Mm-mm.
So
when it took me so long to actually start making money with my business. And I kind of can attribute that way back to when I first started just taking pictures about 7 years ago. My dad actually was the one who shed this light. And he said, don't ever take what you love and try to make money with it because what's going to happen is you're going to end up hating it and then your soul is going to get sucked out of you.
Warren Buffett.
Is that really weird?
Warren Buffett, don't do what you like, not what you love, because the day you do it for a living, you'll cease to love it, is what Warren Buffett said.
Well, then my dad shed some Warren Buffett knowledge on me.
I hope it's Warren Buffett. I hope it's Warren Buffett.
If not, I think it is.
If not, I'll put the title up here, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in my little written notebook. But yeah, that's
so he kind of scared me away from making money off of it. And once I started to say like, okay, if this is what I'm gonna do, I need to pay my bills. So I need to start making money off of it. And I see the way that I love what I do now in comparison to the way that I loved it when I first started, and those are two completely different things.
Yeah.
So when I get the jobs where I'm like, oh, I just need to sit here and edit, and they want the revisions, and I hate my life. But, I also have to remind myself this is something that I love. And taking the time where you kind of, sit back and draw in your notebook, or you do other creative things to kind of stimulate and re-inspire yourself. I also just take breaks, and I kind of have to do the fun projects and remind myself, Rebecca, you do like cameras. This is something that you love to do. What?
I have a vision. of my future.
Yeah. Let us in.
Um,
What is that vision?
let us in. So like, see, there are artists out there. There are more like service artists. So like, I see them more like service.
People who provide a service.
Yeah, they just, they'll like press record on the camera and they don't really think about the artistic aspect. But the camera actually, you can create art with the camera. The same thing with like painting. Like sometimes it's just, I'm just doing this because this is just how I was trained and that's it. Just like dance, all forms of art. And so I don't like to put myself in that category, and I think that's like a driving fear that like if I just chase the money, it'll run and I'll just become like a service guy. Because the one thing that's going to separate me from the service guy is the fact that I see that my stuff is art and that I appreciate it as art. So like I have a vision that one day I will get paid these $50,000-$100,000 checks to just create stuff, and I won't have to think about like this like time period or this like higher master that's gonna pay you a check for like just get it done and you work for $15 an hour or whatever it is that $15-$20 an hour.
I don't know,
Like
Woody.
I don't want to get stuck there. Like if I just like I don't want to get stuck there. I understand
I
that
think
you
it's
have
kind
to
of like
go
a
through it.
balancing act. You have to build the bridge between art and commerce to make a living out of it. So you're going to have to make sacrifices along the way,
Mm-hmm.
but staying true to yourself as an artist. I think it's a lot tougher to say that, somebody's going to pay me, that $15,000 check.
But they will.
They will one day, but
Mhm.
it's, kind of biting the bullet and taking those jobs you don't want to take.
Oh yeah. That's why I said my vision, not my
Not
not
your
my
current
reality.
standing.
I'm not sitting here and editing for $50,000. I'm sitting and editing for $0.
You and I talk about this all the time where we see young artists that, like I said before, we're doing intern interviews right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just really wide-eyed and unrealistic about how this is going to work and how it's going to actually, you have to do the grunt work.
Yeah.
You got to be realistic about making money, but also to stay true to yourself and create the stuff you want to create and make it that true art because you have refined a talent and you're not just pressing record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think is awesome.
Yeah, you have to put your head down first.
Tell me about your family's reaction to you leaving a career in real estate and doing Woody's journey.
Next question, please. No, I just they're a bit confused because obviously real estate has been it's in the family and I love it. I still love it and I'll still go back to it. But it is confusing and it's scary. Like if I was a father, I would probably say, what the F?
Oh, me too.
Like I would, I'd probably have a serious talk. I think my son was crazy. So
they're definitely coming from a place of love.
Yeah. It's definitely just like fear that I'm like, I don't have my head on straight or something.
And it's also,
But,
you're going into such a new age media. It's
Oh,
also
yeah,
really
it's
hard to
scary.
communicate like, hey, there's valid streams of income here. It's just multiple streams and they, take a while to get started. But what was it like when you first had the conversation with your family and the people who are close to you saying, hey, I think I'm going to do this? And did you have any fear or doubt when it came to trying to pitch yet another one of Woody's ideas?
Well, I always look for approval. That's one of my things that I
Don't we all?
but like I really, really do look for approval. And so just like telling my family was the number one like thing that I was like looking for approval on. But just realizing that it actually is crazy to say I'm quitting my job and I'm gonna be a YouTuber and I'm gonna have this podcast and how much money are you gonna make? None right now, but maybe in 3 years. And like actually going out there and doing something about it is like really just not normal. And then being able to look at a YouTube video and say, this hasn't made anything, but this is what my retirement check is. Like, like that's like not normal for, the last generation, I guess. Like our parents are it's just confusing. It's confusing because they have never seen it and they probably will never see it until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And look at what you're doing. You are doing it.
Yeah. And that's one of the, like, I guess I just switched over from like requesting approval to like showing why I'm going to be approved.
Very true, because now you're pushing 3 videos a week, and
Yeah.
what are you on your 19th vlog?
Yeah, 19th vlog. This
And
is the
my, oh
7th
my,
podcast.
you've gotten so much better from your first podcast, your first vlog, your first video to now. I can't wait to see what, just 1 year does at this rate. So this is the point of the podcast where you typically open up the floor for your guests to kind of shed some light and advice for anybody who's pursuing a career similar to theirs. So if anybody's out there listening who has, the same tendencies as Woody here, Woody, what would you give advice for someone who's trying to leave their career or wants to start a YouTube channel or does the many things that you do day in and day out?
Just don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I would say I wasn't expecting this question, by the way.
Boom.
Yeah. I would
I'm a woman of
say,
many surprises. How could you not? You ask this question on every podcast.
I know, but I did, I would say take what you can handle, but like never cap your dreams. So, for instance, like I worked for a certain amount of time so that I had the opportunity to quit my job and do this. If you're listening to this and you want to be like a YouTuber or you want to have your own podcast, don't just go to your job and quit and like end up on the streets.
Think about it a little.
So really like think about it and like take bite-sized pieces, like go to work and like save up and like engage with different people that are in the same industry, or like if you want to be in like as a filmmaker, go hold lights or go hold a reflector or like, help out with batteries or whatever it is. And like just like take what you can handle and be willing to grab more. Like I guess I'm not really saying this that well.
No, you're saying it really well. One of my first mentors, she had dropped some light on the same subject early on, and I never forgot it. And she said the main thing that makes people fail, whether it's a diet, a career, or a relationship, is they jump too fast too soon. So they give up everything they like to eat and they only eat greens.
Yeah.
And it's all about kind of easing your way into it, building that momentum slowly so that way it sticks and it stays. And I think that's kind of similar where, you're doing some PA work, you're holding light, you're understanding how to do it.
Yeah.
And, not just kind of going into Wendy's, quitting your job and say, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow.
Yeah.
Throughout the podcast, we kind of talked about a lot of your failed businesses. And, the mantra of this podcast is you must shut up and fail before you're loud and successful. I think also a big takeaway and something that I admire from you too is just your like unwillingness to just let all of your fears kind of defeat you, and you try everything. So you tried doing a clothing business, and although it failed, you learned how to do merch. You learned how to lead a team. You learned how to do all of those outsourcing.
Yeah.
You did dance, and although it's not like your main bread and butter right now, but you learned how to like communicate with your body. You met so many different people.
Rhythm.
You learned so much with that. Going into Woody's journey, can you attribute all of your talents right now to any of the lessons
Everything.
you learned from the failures?
Everything. So Lucy vending, just do it. It's okay if you can't spell right. just send it out there and just do it. Like just do it. Don't even worry about it. Like nobody knows that it was Lucy vending or Lucky vending. They will like you just do it. Goldkills, it taught me how to do merchandise, which if you guys are watching the video, this is our new shirt, Filmmaker. And then it also taught me how to photograph in a studio set and a little bit of filmmaking, but that was more so with Future Life Films. Future Life Films taught me how to do videos. And then Till 4am, which we didn't really talk about, which was a music group, it taught me how to work with sound. You guys are seeing the sound.
So you everything
real
that you
estate,
failed
talking,
with,
all that stuff. Like you just get little bits and pieces from things.
everything that you failed with, you really honed in on all of the things that you learned to do what you're doing now. So this isn't just another one of your start and fail thing. This is like you want this to be your career, and all of those failures can be attributed to how well you're doing at it now.
And this will help me in the future. Whatever I'm doing right now is going to help me in the future. there's no way I could have been doing what I'm doing right now if I didn't fail in all of my businesses.
Amen.
Throwing that out there.
So you had your best advice for someone in your position now. I'm kind of turn it around to you since we're talking to the future children.
Yeah.
What advice can you give your future self? And just to kind of, before you go into it, Woody asks at the end of each podcast, the guests he has on, what advice they have for him. And I kid you not, across the board, minus, I believe, one person has always said the same thing. And this is his 7th podcast.
Yeah.
So 5 other people all said the same thing. And it was,
Just stick with it. Just keep on doing it.
so what advice would you give your future self? If not, just
My
stick with
future self? I mean, I like just stick with it because I feel like if we just stick with it, I would say present and represent your brand more often.
Yeah.
Like I'm no longer wearing any brand t-shirts. I'm no longer wearing anything with like anything screen printed on unless if it's my brand, because I only want to represent the company that I'm trying to push out. If it's that serious, if my why is that serious, and if I'm really trying to reach that one kid in the middle of
Timbuktu.
who knows where, to actually go out there and do what they love, like I better be repping, like I better take this seriously. So like rep my stuff and like just push it out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
And lastly, the full trifecta. What advice do you have for me, Mr. Woodie Landeros? You know my business pretty intimately. You have some knowledge of the documentary and stuff that I'm filming. What kind of advice would you give for me? Knowing everything that you do, and all the knowledge you've gained.
Is double up on what you know and outsource on what you don't. Yeah, you don't need to waste your time on,
So any interns out there?
Seriously, we always need help. There's not a dime coming through this screen
Yes.
so far.
Please, we need help. What's next? What can we expect in the future from you and your brand and the podcast and your merch?
I'll turn 23 and then in the future. No, the brand, the podcast, all that stuff, I'm going to be releasing. I just designed like 7 or 8 different designs. I'm going to be releasing those out on my website, woodielanderos.com or shutupandfail.com or woodiesjourney.com, either one, whichever one, it all leads to the same exact spot. So you guys can check that out in about, I would say like 2 weeks. But by the time you guys listen to this, probably right now. And then Woodie's Journey, we're going to be traveling to San Francisco. Super excited. We're just contacting companies and trying to make sure that like we get some collabs while we're down there. And then for Shut Up and Fail, if you know anybody that wants to be on this show, go ahead and email me at woodiesjourney@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at Woodie Landeros. Follow Rebecca at
Rebecca Blue Media.
Let's go. That's pretty much everything that we have to come, right?
Oh, wait, actually, so this filmmaker shirt right here,
Oh,
we came up with an idea today. Me and Woody, we're going on a little competition here. We decided that rather than, come together collaboratively to come up with a promotional video to like launch the new merch, we said, why don't we each create our own 30-second promo, come together, and let the people vote on which one's better.
Well, it's only a competition if you have equal competition.
Oh!
So when I win,
look at that competitive spirit coming out.
No, I'm ready to win.
I'm ready to let him win. He's too
No,
cute
no,
not
no.
to. Come on, guys.
No.
No, but really, it's gonna be fierce. I'm filming mine tomorrow in LA with a friend of mine, and ooh, honey, you're in for a good one.
Wait, when does it due?
Oh,
should we release it on Friday?
Yeah, why not?
So due on Thursday?
Shit. Yeah. I can do it.
Okay.
I don't know if you can do it. You might need help, but I got this
30-second
down.
clip.
30-second promo, yeah, for the shirt. Who
All
can
right.
be more creative?
It's on. And then we use music from Artlist.
Heck yeah. So how did I do, Woody? How was my first time being a podcast interviewer?
You did very good. I'm quite jealous of these organized notes.
Oh boy. I
Yep,
thought it was a
there's
little
like
much. Not gonna
there's
lie,
a
guys.
couple
I
of
was real nervous.
pages of these notes. If you're watching the video, Jesus, thank you so much for this notebook.
No, real stuff. That's a great.
This notebook is made out of stone. Okay, now we're talking about random things.
But I'm glad I did okay. I was real nervous.
You did really good.
But
She did great.
there's a reason why I stay behind the camera.
She did great. Actually, when I talked about this, you being on the show on Shut Up and Fail, I was more so saying we should have a separate podcast together in a different location.
Like a different podcast outside of Shut Up and Fail?
Yeah, like us just talking about current events.
Ooh.
Because
would
we
you
have
guys
a lot
like
of
to
controversial.
see that? Did you enjoy this podcast? Would you like to see more of us doing one differently? Let us know.
Let's do it.
I'd love to do a podcast with you. Only if I win this promo contest, though.
When my video comes out. Y'all already know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. This has been another episode of Shut Up and Fail.